All right, dude, we are live. What's up, guys? This is Dem Keys, and today we are gonna carry on. We're gonna carry on learning Git. Now, I noticed. I think I noticed it after the last stream, or during the last stream, or maybe I didn't notice it during the last stream at all. But I noticed it just now again that I have the logos for Kaggle, Hugging Face Transformers, or I think it's just a Hugging Face. Yeah, I think that's just a Hugging Face logo. So I have the logos for Kaggle, Hugging Face, and Python on the screen, despite us not really doing anything with those logos right now. Now, usually I'm doing something. Usually I have a Kaggle notebook open, and I'm probably doing something with Kaggle. I've also been doing stuff with transformers. So Hugging Face, and I'm definitely using Python most of the time. So like those three logos are there for that purpose. But like for the past one or two streams, we've mainly been doing Git, and I realized that I just left the logos on there. The thing is, if I turn the logos off, then that area where the logos are, it's just gonna be empty, and I don't want to do that. So I think I'm just gonna leave the logos there. And dude, honestly, I really want to be done with this entire chapter, just so I can like I can start making progress with other stuff that I planned to do. Dude, I wanted to stream yesterday, but something happened because of which I was having like wonky vision, and it wasn't a good idea for me to do something that's going to require me reading a lot. So I decided not to do a study stream. I was considering maybe trying to do a gaming stream, but I decided not to. I was just like, okay, you know what? It's a bad vision kind of day, so let's just relax. That being said, today we are gonna be doing more Git stuff. Earlier in the evening, I was looking into Unity's 2D stuff just to see, because like I haven't looked into Unity's 2D stuff for years at this point, mostly because I had no reason to. I wasn't really doing a whole lot. But like I did back in the day, I when I was making tutorials, and I would look into various different aspects of Unity, various different I'm not sure what to call them, but like I would look into the 2D side of Unity, the 3D side of Unity, and whatever other stuff they might be doing. And so I made tutorials on various 2D physics related stuff like I think I made tutorials on one or two of the joints. They also introduced the concept of effectors at one point. I made some tutorials on those as well. I made some. I made Okay. The point is, I did look into the 2D side of Unity back in the day, or a couple of years ago. But since then, I haven't really been looking too much into the 2D side. So today, I decided to do that. Today, I decided to look into the 2D side because I am planning on working on a game. I've mentioned this before, and I don't really want to do a 3D game. I'm leaning more towards a 2D game. I'm still not sure what I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to go about doing it, all of that stuff. I mean, how I'm going to go about doing it, I'll figure out once I figure out what exactly I want to do. Right now, it's mainly the what I want to do that I need to figure out, what kind of game I want to make, and I don't know what the game mechanics are going to be, what the story is going to be, all of that stuff. I need to figure it out. I do want to get started on it quick, but I also don't want to rush into it before I've done my research on, or before I've gotten more comfortable with neural networks. So far, I am so far I know the basics of feed forward neural networks, and I'm yet to do my experimentation. Hopefully after today's stream I'm going to be doing a data science lab stream. Oh, also I was thinking, so for a while now I've wanted to make like an overlay for my streams, and I wanted to get kind of creative with it, but I didn't really have too many ideas. So what I was thinking is I could try making one overlay for data science lab and another one for studying and co-working, because these are the two streams that I do mainly, right? Either studying slash co-working, or data science. I'm or well, I said or, I was about to say or data science lab, but like I haven't started doing data science lab yet. But yeah, eventually that's going to be the thing, right? That's going to be the two different types of streams that I do. So I was thinking for each of these streams, I could have an overlay. And depending on the overlay, or depending on the type of stream it is, I can switch to the relevant overlay. Uh, I'm still not sure like how I want to go about doing this. I have some ideas for what I might want to do, but like, yeah, yeah, I have some ideas. I haven't implemented them yet. I do want to move my entire. I think I mentioned this yesterday. I don't remember if I mentioned this yesterday. Um, I do want to move my entire VTuber apps Unity project over to my Linux system, so I can start doing the development on the Linux side. But before that, I want to do the Git thing. I want to finish learning all the basics that I can about Git. Branching, I will look into branching eventually, but not just yet, not right now. Also, I mean, I don't think I need to worry too much about branching. I don't think I need to, because okay, the whole idea with trying to learn Git again was to get a better idea of how the system is working, what exactly is happening. And I feel like chapter 2 specifically is going to give a fair amount of information about that. Chapter 3, which is branching, like I can look into it. It's a more advanced concept and it's definitely useful, but it's also something that is possible to accomplish using GitHub Desktop. I know because I've done it. It's possible to accomplish that using GitHub Desktop. I'm not going to need to use the command line for it. However, I don't know if I might need to. You know what? Okay, I'm also going to need to. Okay, you know what we should do? After I finish going through chapter 2, I can then look into this, doing source control in VS Code, because VS Code does give you quite a bit of source control functionality. Let's look into branches, because like there might be, because like okay, let's real quick, let's take a look at commit, right? Because there's I think it's called the command palette or something similar, where you have like a bunch of different commands for whatever specific thing you might be trying to do. So for example, if I'm using Jupyter notebooks, or if I have Jupyter notebook, or if I have Jupyter lab, Jupyter, let's just say Jupyter. If I have Jupyter installed in one of my Python projects and I want to create a new Jupyter notebook, I'll open up the command palette and look for the option that says create new Jupyter notebook or something along those lines. That's how I create a new Jupyter notebook. Similarly, there's going to be functionality for Git, and actually there is Git related functionality. Let me let me see if I can bring up something here. Uh, okay, what is it? I think Control Shift P. Okay, right. So let's type Git. Okay, there you go. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. Um, I'm not sure what the limitation is or limitations are. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly the limitations are, but there's quite a few options here. Um, Branch. Okay, let's see if there's anything for branch. Actually, I think. Okay, wait. Create branch. There you go. Look at that. Let's try that. No, you know what? We can look into it later. I don't want to mess with anything right now. I want to do as much of this as I can via the GitHub command line, the Git command line, and then we'll move over to the other step. So branching, I feel like, um, hold up. So okay, we've got branches, we've got remotes. Remotes is going to be covered. Source control graph, that is super helpful. I definitely want that. Git status bar actions. Okay, okay. What are gutter indicators? If you open a folder that is in a Git repository and begin making changes, VS Code will add useful annotations to the gutter. At, is this the gutter? Oh, this is the gutter? I think this is a gutter. I think so. Yeah. I think that might be it. Or is this the gutter? Well, no. Okay, so whatever is added here, it does show up here as well. Give me a second. Okay. Anyways. Oh, wait. This okay, so this is not the gutter. This is called the overview ruler. Then I think this is the gutter. Okay, I can look into what the gutter is later. Okay, so then there's stuff for merging, then there's something for diffing. That'll be useful, definitely. What is a timeline view? The timeline view, accessible at the bottom of the file explorer by default, is a unified view for visualizing time series events. Git commits. Oh, okay. Wait, for a specific file? Okay, that is useful, dude. Okay, okay. Oh, what is this? Git graph. Somebody made an extension. I'm not planning on using it, but I was just curious about what it looks like. All right, cool, great. What else? What else? VS Code as Git editor. Yep, I plan on using that as well. Initialize a repository Git output window. You can always peek under the hood to see the Git commands we are using. This is helpful if something strange is happening or if you are just curious. To open the Git output window, view output. Oh, output as in I think this here. Yeah, that's it. Okay, great. All right, there's a thing for initializing a repo. Okay, code editor. VS Code as git diff tool and merge tool. You can run VS Code's diff and merge capabilities. I'm trying to remember if I've ever used VS Code's diff tool. I'm gonna look into this because this can be useful for a bunch of other things even outside of Git. I've had situations where I had to diff something, and instead of doing it through some kind of GUI tool, I would try to do it through other stuff like, I don't know. Uh, well, my mind would first go to Python because usually you're going to find a library for that kind of stuff, or for general purpose stuff. So like my mind would first go to Python, but I think I've also tried um, doing it through PowerShell. I don't remember. And then on Linux, I think there was a tool that I would use, but mainly I think I've used Python for it. But if there's like a diff tool, then I can definitely use that even outside of Git stuff, even outside of the Git context. Uh, okay, okay, okay. All right, cool. Okay, what's this about remotes? Given that your repository is connected to some remote and that your checked out branch has an upstream link to a branch in that remote, um, okay, so I'm gonna need to understand this thing about an upstream link. Yeah, yeah, and we're only gonna understand that once we look into uh, remotes. That's one of the sub chapters in chapter two. Working with remotes. There it is. Yeah, dude. What I feel like I should just start hyper focusing on this thing and like try to finish this entire chapter by in the next couple of days because I don't want to spend too much time just trying to learn Git because I mean I'm trying to learn Git definitely, but I don't want to end up spending way too much time on it, uh, and then none of the other stuff that I wanted to do gets done. Where was I? Okay, yeah. VS Code offers you useful actions to push, pull, and sync that branch. The latter will run a pull command followed by a push command. Oh, sync. Okay. You can find these actions in the Views and More Actions menu, along with the option to add or remove a remote. VS Code is able to periodically fetch changes from your remotes. This enables VS Code to show, dude. Okay, so once we look into remotes, I feel like certain projects I'm gonna be setting up a remote on my Linux machine, just as a backup mechanism, because there are certain projects that I might be doing a lot more on Windows. I might be doing their development a lot more on Windows. For example, I was working on a stream mod app. I think it was called. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I was working on that. I mean, I made it. I also pushed it to my GitHub. It's open source, but like in the future, if I plan on doing updates to it, then usually I do the development for that on my Windows machine, not on any of my Linux machines. Another example is, I guess, the Twitch middleware app as well. I don't I don't do the development for that on my Linux machines. It's mainly on my Windows machine. However, I would definitely like to have backups. Though I'm trying to think if that's really the best way to go about it. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. Like having a remote elsewhere. and then connecting to that so I can pull and push. But then, I mean, the only difference there is like, so the only thing that that's going to accomplish is that it's going to keep the main repo elsewhere, not on this machine. So that way I have quote unquote backup. You know, it's like a backup in a different location. I'm trying to think if I really need to do that. Well, okay, let's think about this, right? My my stream mod app, I don't need to keep like a remote thing because as it is, that is on GitHub. So anything that I do, I'm gonna be like, you know, any development that I do on that, it's gonna be pushed directly to that repo, and so the backup for that is already there online. So I don't need a backup for that. My Twitch middleware app, I'm planning on open sourcing that as well, if I remember right. Yeah, yeah, I had plans to open source that as well. After I've gone through the code and cleaned up whatever I think doesn't need to be there, I was gonna make that open source as well. So you know what? Yeah, I guess there's nothing to worry about then. Yeah, yeah. I don't think I need to look into anything. I do need to work on that Python project, that Python script that I wanted to work on for backing up all my projects. I need to sit down and think of a good design for it, if that makes sense. Like what exactly I'm trying to accomplish, how I'm gonna accomplish it and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. So we are like 20 minutes into the stream and we haven't started this. So I mean, okay, in the last stream, I think I went through this already. Checking the status of your files. Okay, that is done. I remember in the last stream, I kind of got hung up on Git checkout versus Git. What was the other one? I forgot what the other one. Well, I haven't changed. I haven't refreshed this page, so I think it should still be here. Clone. Yeah. I think. Okay. What I got confused about was how checking out files was being used, or checking out a repo, checking out a branch, how exactly that was being used. Because I was seeing it being used in both cloning and in checkout. So I was like, okay, if you are doing checkout in cloning, then like, what are you doing in checkout? And that doubt has kind of been cleared. Like, it is being used in both cases, but like in both cases, it means something different. And I feel like I'm gonna get a better idea of exactly what's going on once I understand. I think for cloning, to understand cloning or to understand what's happening in cloning, I would need to understand the concept of remotes, right? Because when you clone a repo, isn't that the remote? Or could it, or is it possible that you can clone a repo and not push to like the remote? You can just like always have your own copy and have like a detached copy separate. I'm not sure. We'll look into remotes once we get to it. Where are we? Where were we? Anyways, okay, so we had looked into tracking and then modifying files. Well, no, tracking modified files. That's what we looked into. And then there was a thing about like a file um, having having changes that have been staged, and also later on having changes that have been tracked but have not yet been staged. Yep, yep. They were trying to show how all of this is uh, displayed, how they all differ from each other, and this is where we had landed, which was ignoring files, git ignore. So I guess this is where we will start. Give me a second. Let's actually no. I think I can wait because in like the next 5 minutes there's going to be an ad break, so then I can hydrate. Okay. Ignoring files. Often you'll have a class of files that you don't want Git to automatically add or even show you as being untracked. Oh, or even show you as being untracked. These are generally automatically generated files, such as log files or files produced by your build system. Okay. In such cases, you can create a file listing what? You can create a file list. Oh, a file listing patterns. Okay. Um, I thought it was something called file listing patterns. But yeah, okay. You can create a file that lists patterns to match them named git ignore. All right. Okay. I believe git ignore has to be outside of yeah, it has to be outside of the thing. So okay, let's do dot git ignore. We'll open that up. And here we are gonna create a new file called test ignore o1 dot um, let's say dot log. I'm not sure what's a good one to use. Let's say test ignore dot cs. I don't know. Okay, so here I want to add test ignore o1 dot cs. So now if I look at the status, yeah, okay, hold on a second. Like if this has not been committed, if the git ignore file has not been committed, then what does it look like in git status? Oh, okay, that's interesting. So we do have untracked files, or one untracked file, which is git ignore, but at the same time it's not tracking the file that I asked it to ignore. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Great. Let's carry on reading this because I did have this. I had a similar issue because like on Git, what do you call it? On GitHub Desktop, it tracks the changes and also stages them automatically, and then all you have to do is commit. So like you can select which ones, like you can unstage or untrack certain files from that commit. I guess you're unstaging them. Yeah, I guess you're unstaging them. You can unstage them from the commit or from the staging area, but like by default, it's gonna track, and of course, it's also gonna read the git ignore file and respect whatever you tell it to ignore. I had a situation where I was trying to initialize a repo in the virtual Stream Deck app project, which is a Python project, and Python projects have environments, right? So there's going to be an environment folder. I wanted to ignore that folder because that folder is not supposed to go up on GitHub. It's not supposed to be part of the repo. If somebody is cloning the project, generally the way to go about it is you clone the entire project and then you create the environment and use the requirements.txt file to install all of the, well, okay, you create the environment and activate that environment, and then you use the requirements.txt file, which usually if it's a project that has a bunch of external libraries and of course has an environment and stuff, there's usually going to be a requirements.txt file that you can then uh, install packages out of. So you just have to pass that file over to pip, and pip is going to install all of the required packages for you. So I was trying to ignore the environment folder. The problem was I opened up, well, I initialized the repo, and then I opened up GitHub desktop, and instantly it was tracking that file, right? And I think I'd also made my first commit. I don't remember. I think I'd made the first commit, and I think maybe I'd also pushed it. Oh, real quick, in the next 10 seconds, there's going to be an ad playing, so I'm going to start the ad break right now. I'll see you guys in 30 seconds. All right, welcome back. So, I think I was talking about the environment folder. Yeah, so I think I'd already pushed the changes as well. At the very least, I think I'd already committed those changes. So it was like committed to my local copy, my it was committed to the repo already. Um, and then I thought about creating the git ignore file and including the environment folder name in it so that it would then ignore that folder. But the problem was that the thing had already been it had already become a part of the repo. So at that point I was kind of confused about how to go about removing this folder, how to go about, getting it to ignore. And I feel like this is one of those cases where this is one of those slightly more advanced, maybe not really advanced, but like it's definitely not one of the basics. I feel like this is one of the slightly more advanced things that you I'm pretty sure would be able to do in Git, but I didn't know how to do it. And so I started doing a bunch of dumb shit and I almost lost the entire project. I'm not even kidding about that. I almost lost the entire project. Though once I like now that I know the basics of Git, now that I or well, at the very least know how the system works or what the system is and how the system is tracking stuff, I feel like even if I did fuck up and accidentally committed a thing where the entire code base got deleted, the repo would still be alive, right? So I could have gone back to one of the previous commits. Just at the time, that didn't occur to me because I was panicking because I thought my entire project was about to just go poof. I don't even remember if I made a backup of that project. So I was like, oh holy shit, I need to fix this somehow. I need to get all those files back. I did I did manage to get the files back in my own broken way. But I managed to get the content back. But yeah, yeah. Anyways, back to this. So the first line tells Git to ignore any files ending with O or A. Okay, object and archive files that may be the product of building your code. The second tells Git to ignore all files whose name ends with a tilde. Okay, which is used by many text editors such as Emacs to mark temporary files. All right. You may also include a log, temp, or PID directory. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing that with Unity projects. There's a bunch of folders that I don't want to be including in the thing. Oh, speaking of folders that I don't want to be including in the thing, or well, speaking of the thing, I was talking about which projects I'm gonna need to use remotes with earlier, and it's definitely my VTuber project. Yeah, I'm gonna need to. I'm gonna be well. I mean, I'm gonna set up a thing. I'm gonna set up the repo on the other machine on my Linux machine because I plan on doing most of the development on that app through my Linux machine moving forward. Even though things are a tiny bit, dude, it's still like it. I don't know. It's kind of a I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me that it's mainly the scene view. Like when I open up a URP project and I have to use force Vulkan to force it to use Vulkan for rendering the scene and stuff, it's specifically the scene that is slow, the scene view that is slow. So if I hover my mouse over the scene view, things are a tiny bit slow, a tiny bit choppy. But if I move my mouse outside of it, everything is perfectly fine. Everything's fast. Anything that's running within the scene view. So, for example, if I create like a VFX graph asset and then set up a VFX graph object in the scene and run the VFX graph thing using I forgot what the component that runs the VFX graph thing is called, but like if I set up a VFX graph and run that particle effect in the scene, that thing itself is going to look a little slow. I think it's the same for the game view as well. So rendering both the scene view and the game view are pretty slow. But aside from that, rendering anything else, even like the shader graph editor, the VFX graph editor, any of the other editors that Unity has, all of that is fast. All of that is fast to render. Um, but yeah, dude. I mean, fortunately, it's not going to be that big of a hindrance for me. It's not going to be that big of an issue because quite a bit of the stuff that I'm doing with my VTuber app, it it involves coding. Like I'm going to be doing a lot of coding. Of course, there's going to be visual elements as well that I'm going to be working on. And in those cases, in those situations, I can uh you know what I could do in those situations? If there's UI that I need to set up, I could set up the like design. I could design the base UI, whatever it is that I'm trying to design. Let's say I'm trying to design. Um, I was planning on working on like a small feature in the VTuber app where it reads when somebody joins in and says hello or something, or when somebody redeems a channel point redemption saying hello, or if they just type hello or hi or something. It'll add them to it'll add them to the how what am I trying to say? It's going to create like a bot or some kind of character that represents them, and it's going to bring that character up on the screen, and then we're going to have those characters moving around or whatever. I have some ideas for that. So that's one of the things. Like if I'm trying to build the visual element of something, and working on Linux becomes a little too slow, at least in terms of like designing UI elements, then yeah, I can. What was I saying? Then yeah, I can build the UI elements on my Windows machine, and once I'm done building those UI elements, I can save the project and just push the changes, um, and well, commit and push the changes, and then on my Linux machine, I can pull those changes and carry on the work. So I can then do all of the coding on the Linux machine. That should be interesting. I wanna set something like that up. I definitely want to set up something like that. Yeah, dude. I wanna set up something like that. All right. Right. So this is talking about like the whole ignore thing. Okay. Automatically generated documentation and so on. All right. Setting up a git ignore file for your new repository before you get going is generally a good idea, so you don't accident. That's exactly what I did. Um, I made that mistake, is what I mean. I didn't create the git ignore file first, but I think, to be fair, I think I yeah, I think I'd already committed the change. The first time I'd already committed the change, and somehow it didn't occur to me that the git ignore file isn't going to cause what's already in the database to be deleted. To be fair, I don't think I fully understood that there was a database at the time. So maybe that's kind of that was part of the reason why I. Either way, I don't know. I made this mistake that they're saying not to make. Generally a good idea so you don't accidentally commit files that you really don't want in your GitHub in your Git repository. The rules for patterns you you can put in the git ignore file are as follows. Blank lines or lines starting with uh, that are ignored. Okay, so those are comments essentially. Wait, would those be considered? Yeah, if it's starting with that and then it gets ignored, then yeah, technically it's a comment. That's good because then we can add these patterns. We can this way we can like structure the file. It's not just one it's not just like multiple lines of all the patterns and you're not able to add any kind of explanation to it. That's good. That actually does help. Standard glob patterns work. What's a glob pattern? I feel like I've read this before. Glob pattern. And will be applied recursively throughout the entire working tree. What's a glob pattern? Let me hold on. Hold on. Oh, you know what? Instead of Google, let's ask Llama. Uh, I'm doing research about Git ignore. Um, I read about something called a glob pattern. Keeping Git ignore aside, what is a glob and what is a glob pattern? I had to mention the git ignore thing just to give context, but then I have to also tell, hey, ignore this. Okay, a glob pattern often referred simply often hold on. A glob pattern, often referred to simply as a glob, is a string of characters used to specify a set of file names or paths in a file system. Here are the key points to understand about glob patterns. Definition: glob patterns are text expressions that use wildcards to match one or more of the file names. Oh, so it's like when you do star.txt, meaning all text files. Okay, okay. Oh, so okay, glob is not limited to just asterisk. There's also question mark, which matches exactly one character, and then this matches one character from the enclosed list. Okay. I'm wondering how much of this is regex. I don't remember regex syntax exactly, but like within regex patterns you can specify things like this. Okay, this matches one character not in the enclosed list of characters. Oh, okay, cool. All right, great, awesome. Here are some examples of glob patterns. This matches the whole repository or root directory as a single entity. This matches each top level file or directory as a separate entity. This matches each file or directory in each subdir. Oh, wow. Okay. This matches each file in all directories and subdirectories as a separate entity. As a separate entity, what is that? Okay, in the context of git ignore, what would referring to a file, is it double R? I think so, yeah. To a file or directory as a separate entity mean? In the context of a git ignore file, referring to a file or directory as a separate entity means that the pattern in the git ignore file matches and ignores the file or directory independently based on its specific location and the rules defined in the git ignore file. Okay, you know what? I'm not fully understanding what that means, but I'm not going to go too deep into that because otherwise we're going to waste a lot of time. You can start patterns with a forward with a, words with a forward slash to avoid recursivity. Okay. You can end patterns with a forward slash to specify a directory. You can negate a pattern by starting it with an exclamation point. Okay. Glob patterns are like simplified regular expressions, regex, that shells use. You know what? Okay, great. Um, so I don't think I need to look into the whole syntax of git ignore right now. I feel like that's more of a um, it's a case by case use. So depending on the situation, whatever I need to ignore, I'll just look it up because that's what I do each time. All right, viewing your staged and unstaged changes. If the git status command is too vague for you, as in you want to know exactly what changed, not just which files were changed, you can use the git diff command. We'll cover git diff in more detail later, but you'll probably use it most often to answer these two questions. What have you changed but not yet staged? And what have you staged that you are about to commit? Give me a second. Okay, where was I? Um, it was the two questions, right? Okay. Although git status answers those questions very generally by listing the file names, git diff shows you the exact lines added and removed. Um, Sorry, zoned out. Okay. It shows you the exact lines added and removed, the patch, as it were, showing you the patch. Oh, so this is a patch. This is a patch. This is what a patch is. The changes that have been made. Okay. All right. Let's say you edit and stage the README file again, and then edit the contributing.md file without staging it. If you run your git status command once again, you see you see something like this. Yep, okay, because one has been staged and one has only been tracked but not yet staged. Okay, to see what you've changed but not yet staged, type git diff with no other arguments. All right, let's try that because I do have something here that so one is untracked, which is great, and the other is modified and new file. So let's do git diff. It's not showing anything. Did I do something wrong? Wait, what does this show? To see what you've changed but not yet staged. Oh, okay. Changed but not yet staged. So let's do something here. Though I mean, it should show. I like that this is grayed out. I also didn't know that this is a thing. Yeah, I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but to be fair, I only installed Git very recently. Um, Usually I'm using GitHub Desktop, so there was no Git stuff going on within the context of VS Code or within VS Code, so that could be the reason. But this is good to know. U is untracked. Oh, I like that it mentioned. I don't know if you guys can see the tooltip that pops up. Let me hold on. Let me wait for the thing to catch up. Oh yeah, you guys can see it as well. Great. So it says untracked and M is modified and uh, this is added. Okay. Oh, I feel like this is important as well because it says index modified. I wonder if there's something that could also be, you know what? Let's wait. So one of the changes has been tracked, right? So let's say this is some more text. So what pops up here now? Or how does this now it just says modified because now there's staged and unstaged changes. So if I do status, it should mention changes that have been made that changes that are tracked but have not been staged yet, and there's also changes that have been staged. So now let's try this. Okay, so it does the diffing for content that's within a file. So changes that have been it does the diffing for modification, I guess. It doesn't do diffing for adding files. I think that's a thing. And this is its way of showing that this is what's here and this is what's here. But the interesting thing is, when I read something like this, it what this tells me is that this entire text was removed and then this entire text was added, when in reality, it's mainly just this that was added. I feel like that's something to look into because generally, like even on on GitHub Desktop, it'll show you if I remember right, it will show you that hey, this specific thing has been changed because that's the important part, right? You need to be able to see exactly what was changed, not that hey, this entire line was changed when in reality you only added or removed a sentence from that whole line of multiple sentences. Okay, what does this mention? So there's something about merged in. Please include a nice description of your changes when you submit your PR. If we have to read the whole diff to figure out why you're contributing in the first place, you're less likely to get feedback and have your change merged in. And then it says here merged in. Also, split your changes into comprehensive chunks if your patch is longer than a dozen lines. Okay. If you're starting to work on a particular area, feel free to submit a PR that highlights your work in progress. And note in the PR title that it's okay, whatever. That command compares what is in your working directory with what is in your staging area. It compares what is in your working directory with what is in your staging area. The result tells you the changes you've made that you haven't staged. Okay, let me just read that again. This file has some text. This is a change to the file. Yeah, this is the entire like line. It seems like the entire line is being replaced. If you want to see what you've staged that will go into your next commit, you can use git diff staged. This command compares your stage changes to your last commit. All right, let's try that. Uh, git diff staged. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Okay, diff git between that and this. Okay, all right. So it says it removed that and then it added this. And then oh, so it runs diff git for each file. And this here is a new file. I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean, that it's removing null and then adding text. But I guess I can ask Llama about it later. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, it mentions it here as well. It's important to note that git diff by itself doesn't show all the changes made since your last commit. Only changes that are still unstaged. If you've staged all of your changes, git diff will give no output. Yep, okay. For example, if you stage the so and so and so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so to see the changes in the file that are staged. Okay, if our environment looks like this, okay, so if changes have been, there are changes that haven't been staged and there are changes that have been staged. Now you can okay, hold on. So git diff by itself shows you the difference um, between unstaged changes and staged changes. Give me a second. G1 G1 underscore FPS. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. We are currently studying Git or studying the basics of Git. Yeah. Um, I hope you're doing well. We are getting some studies done. So now you can use git diff to see what is still unstaged, and git diff cached to see what you've staged so far. Staged and cached are synonyms. Okay. Wait, so did I get that right? Git diff by itself will show you the changes between the difference between what is staged and what is unstaged, right? And then uh, git diff staged is going to show you the difference between what is staged and your last commit. Let me just confirm that. Actually, there has to be a way. I believe there is a way. Hold on. In my fourth commit, let's take a look at what was here. So there, it was up to some more text, right? None of the other stuff was mentioned. None of the other stuff was. So it stopped. It stopped here. Some more text. So this line should not be there. Actually, no, all three of these sentences should not be there. So if I just do git diff, it stopped at some more text. Oh, wait. It's the first some more text that it stopped at, and then it's this. Okay. All right. Let's read back here real quick. By itself doesn't show all the changes made since you're so and so, only the changes that are still unstaged. If you stage all of your changes, then this will. But okay, compared to what exactly? Is it compared to? I don't think it's compared to the last commit. I think it's compared to whatever is staged. I think so. Okay, okay, whatever. I'll look into it later. All right, committing your changes. Now that your staging area is set up and you want to what? Now that your staging area is set up the way you want it, you can commit your changes. Remember that anything that is still unstaged, any files you have created or modified that you haven't run git add on since you edited them won't go into this commit. They will stay as modified files on your disk. In this case, let's say the last time you ran git status, you saw you saw that everything was staged, so you're ready to commit your changes. The simplest way to commit is to type git commit. Doing so launches your editor of choice. Oh, that's interesting. Hold on. So I wonder what's going to happen right now since I mean, I think VS Code is already set as the default editor, right? Uh, let's stage the changes. Okay, that's done. Now let's do git status. So we have a new file added, we have the modifications that were done, and we have another new file that was added. Now let's do git commit. So generally we would be doing something like this, right? Whatever, whatever text, right? Just so we have a git message. But I haven't tried this yet. Waiting for your editor to close the file. Um, close which file? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I had to wait for some time. Okay, this is interesting. So this says, wait, I wonder what this is. What are these lines? Accept commit message, discard commit. Oh, okay, that's interesting. We have these things here. Please enter the commit message of your for your changes. Lines starting with so and so will be ignored, and an empty message aborts the commit. Okay, sorry, zoned out. Okay, this is a commit done from um, VS Code. No, this, hold on. This commit message has been written in VS Code. Why are there lines here? What does this do? I wonder what that does. This is some test text. Okay, so let's save that and accept the change. That closes the thing, and now it's committed. All right, now let's look here. So this is a commit. Okay, so I wonder how I would go about adding a title for the commit. Because like with commits, usually you have at least with GitHub, you have a title and then you have a message, right? Let's read further and see. Give me a second. Okay, all right. The editor displays the following text. This example is in a Vim screen. Okay, dude, I'm glad that VS Code just handles the whole thing for you. Like, sure, I had to wait for a little bit until it like opened up the thing. But other than that, this was pretty decent, I would say. You can see the default, you can see that the default commit message contains the latest output of the git status command command commented, command commented, commented out, uh, and one empty line on top. Okay. You can remove these comments and type your commit message, or you can leave them there to help you remember what you're committing. For an even more explicit reminder of what you've modified, you can pass the V option to git commit. Doing so also puts the diff of your change in the editor, so you can see exactly what changes you're committing. You know what? Let's test that out. Let's close this. Let's come here. This is some more text, or let's say we are adding some more text. Let's save that and do this. Actually, no, wait, I haven't added yet, right? Okay, then let's do this. And now we wait. Okay, this time it's faster. And there's the diff. That's interesting, dude. Okay, so none of this has been commented. Do not modify or remove the line above. Oh, that's why. Okay, so I was just about to ask the question that what is like how come this is not being ignored? But apparently this is how it's not being ignored. Actually, no. I was about to ask how how come let me rephrase that. I was about to ask how come this stuff is not being ignored? How are we gonna make sure that this stuff doesn't get ignored? But this answered the question. Apparently, everything below this just gets ignored. Okay, cool, great. This is a second commit written in VS Code. All right, I want to see what happens if I don't save the file, but I just click accept. It's gonna ask if I want to save it. Okay. All right, the change is done, and now we should be able to see the change here, which is great. Awesome, dude. When you exit the editor, Git creates your commit with that message. Alternatively, you can type your commit message in line with the commit command by specifying it after a M flag like this. Oh yeah, that's what we've been doing. Okay. Now you've created your first commit. Oh, great. Okay, yeah. Now you've created your first commit. You can see that the commit has given you some output about itself, which branch you committed to, what SHA-1 checksum the commit has, how many files were changed, and statistics about lines added and removed in the commit. Remember that the commit records the snapshot you set up in your staging area. Wait, the commit records the snapshot you set up in your staging area. Anything you didn't stage is still there modified. It's still sitting there modified. Okay? You can do another commit to add to your history, to add it to your history. Every time you perform a commit, you're recording a snapshot of your project that you can revert to or compare to later. Skipping the staging area. Although it can be amazingly useful for crafting commits exactly how you want them, the staging area is sometimes a bit more complex than you need in your workflow. If you want to skip the staging area, Git provides a simple shortcut. Adding the A option to the git commit command makes Git automatically stage every file that is already tracked before doing the commit, letting you skip the git add part. Yeah, okay, I can see how this can be useful because um, unless you have like very specific use cases, like you want to selectively ignore certain files, unless that is the case, you're probably just going to be doing the usual add all files and then stage the files and then commit, right? So, but actually add is what stages them, right? So me saying add and then stage, it's kind of redundant. Um, you'll just be doing the usual staging and then committing, unless you have a very specific reason for wanting to skip certain files. And in that case, it can be useful to just use this flag. Right. Let's do another thing here. Um, we are now adding yet another sentence. Okay, so we need to do this and that. Let's wait for this to open up. There it is. Okay, dude, I'm curious. I'm curious about what these two things are. Like this shows it goes red after that, but like, oh, I wonder. Okay, hold on, hold on. Let's look at commit. Where's the commit message section? Author commit messages using an editor. If you don't, hold on. Okay, if you don't enter a commit message when committing changes, VS Code opens an editor for the commit message file where you can author the commit message in the editor. After you provide a commit message, after you provide the commit message, either close the editor tab or select the accept commit message button in the editor toolbar to commit the changes. To cancel the commit operations, you can either clear the contents of the text editor and close the editor tab, or select the discard commit message button in the editor toolbar. All right. This is okay. We are now making commits from VS Code. All right. That should be done. Wait, why is this orange? Oh, okay. It was busy. In the meantime, it was doing something. Okay. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. I didn't need to run git add. I just remembered what I was doing this for. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. So awesome. Notice how you didn't notice how you don't have to run git add on so and so file in this case because what? Hold on. In this case, before you commit, that's because the A flag includes all changed files. This is convenient, but be careful. Sometimes this flag will cause you to include unwanted changes. True. Yep, that is true. Though, it's also worth noting that uh, in some cases there might be just way too many files for you to be able to keep track of, and I feel like a Unity project is a good example of that because there's just so many files there. Either new files that have been added, or files existing files that have been modified, or files that are being deleted. There's going to be just a long list of files. But yeah, yeah, definitely. You should be careful when using this. Just a second. All right. Then we have removing files. Wait, how many more? Okay, so there's removing files, there's moving files. And then we are ready to move on to the next thing, which is Viewing commit history. This is what I was looking. This is what I was looking into last stream, I believe. We looked into like, yeah, we actually looked into a bunch of this stuff. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, to remove a file from Git, you have to remove it from your tracked files. More accurately, remove it from your staging area, and then commit. Remove it from your staging area and then commit. The git rm command does that and also removes the file from your working directory so you don't see it as an untracked file the next time around. If you simply remove the file from your working directory, it shows up under changes not staged for commit. That is unstaged area. Oh, okay. So if you just delete it directly, um, that's not gonna remove the tracking on it. Git rm, I believe, is a way of um, untracking the file, so to speak. Yeah, this is what it's gonna look like if you actually delete the file. Though, I mean, then if you run git rm, it stages the file's removal. The next time you commit, the file will be gone and no longer tracked. Um, if you modified the file or had already added it to your staging area, you must force the removal with the F option. Sorry, zoned out. This is a safety feature to prevent accidental removal of data that hasn't yet been recorded in a snapshot, and that can't be recovered from Git. Another useful thing you may want to do is keep the file in your working tree, but remove it from your staging area. In other words, you want to keep it, you want to keep the file on your hard drive, but not have Git track it anymore. This is particularly useful if you forgot to add something to your Git. Oh, okay, there we go. If you forgot to add something to your Git ignore file and accidentally staged it, like a large file, like a large log file, or a bunch of .a compiled files. To do this, use the cached option. Git rm cached readme. Dude, I feel like I need to spend some time reading up on this rm thing because I haven't fully understood it. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I need to spend some time with this. But um, that's okay. You know what? That's gonna be it for now. Hopefully, I'm gonna be doing another. Hopefully, I'm gonna be doing a data science lab stream in some time later. I don't know, maybe an hour or something. I need to go get something to eat because I haven't eaten properly since I woke up, which was hours ago. So I'm gonna go prepare something to eat, and maybe in an hour or 2 hours or something, I'll start up a data science lab stream, and we'll do a little bit of, I don't know, we'll play around with linear regression because I have some testing that I want to do, and then maybe if we have more time, we can start playing around with feed forward neural networks, seeing the different effects of different methods in it. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's stream. That's gonna be it for now, I guess. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's stream. I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.